Welcome back to my channel. We're currently reviewing my best-selling book, Addicted to Being Broke. Let's talk about eradicating the poverty mindset. And we're currently discussing chapter 4, letting go of old ways and learning new ways. So let's get started. So in this chapter, it was just broadly trying to understand what got me into this situation, what I can let go of, and what I can start building upon. And right at the beginning of the chapter, I start talking about fear. A lot of fear surrounded with this process of exposing myself, even writing the book and talking about the financial situation. And I had to constantly keep reminding myself, have faith rather than focusing on the fear. Just have faith that everything's going to work out. Have faith that you're going to get into a better situation. And it's easier said than done, especially when you're going through something that you don't really talk to anyone about. So in this chapter, I plucked up the courage to start talking to my family members about my financial situation and with the hope of getting some advice. So I think it was one day, it was like after a school activity, we all met up at a family member's house and, you know, just casually having tea and biscuit. And then I just sort of brought up the question to my auntie and I said, how do you manage your money? Like, and you know, and it's like, what? What? It was a bit of a surprise because we don't really talk about money like that. People don't really talk about money. So yeah, I just came out with it. How do you manage your money? And she was just like, a bit like, she didn't know what to say. She was like, what do you mean? Like, where do I start, kind of thing. It's like she'd not really thought about it. And I found out why. So it's like where I had developed a habit of having no money left, she had developed a habit of having savings at all given times. So when I'm asking about money, it's almost like, what is it you want to know? I developed a habit of always having money, whilst I had developed a habit of not having money. So she would wake up in the morning and maybe think, oh, what's for breakfast? Oh, what time am I going to get into work? All these simpler things of life where I would wake up and be like, okay, how do we survive today? How much do we have to go through today? Or how much do I need for today? Or do I have the money that I need for today? It was just always a mental state centered on money. So she started discussing it from the point of what she does with her wages each month. And she basically says when the money comes in, she already knows everything that's going to be paid off. And she would do things like pay off their car insurance for the whole year, or pay off some things that instead of making them into monthly direct debits, just pay it off for the whole year, because then that would reduce their outgoings each month. So she would know exactly what bills she has, and what she would do is each month just put a chunk of the money into savings. And I was just sitting there listening like, wow, this sounds so amazing. And like in my head, I'm like, if she can do it, I can do it too. I can get there. But obviously there's different situations that make some of these things more possible, in a sense of you could be earning different amounts of money. You could have different number of children that you're responsible for. You could have more expensive outgoings with regards to your rent and your council tax, things like that, that would make it not possible to stretch your money as far as you'd want it to go. But I was sitting there and I was taking notes and I was listening. I was just thinking to myself, okay, this is a whole different way to look at it. And, you know, I said to them, I think I'm addicted to being broke. And they literally just all burst out laughing. Like, what do you mean? That's so funny. Going back to the title of the book, some people will be like, that's so funny. And some people will be like, what? So sorry to hear that. So they were laughing. And they basically went on to ask me, what about your credit cards? And I just said, yeah, I think probably had one or something. And it had such a low limit that they were laughing some more. They were like, they never knew credit cards offered such low limits. And it's like, ha, ha, ha. And then we went on to discuss. Yeah, so they were like, so how are you managing that limit? And I was like, no, that's maxed out. That was maxed out as soon as it came in, kind of thing. It was an eye-opener for them. it was an eye-opener for me, because I just thought, no, this is actually a joke. My situation, my financial situation is actually a joke. So I need to start doing some things that's going to help it. But as I say, Rome is not built in a day. So it took work. It's still taking work. I'm so grateful that I started a journey, because I'm not where I want to be, but I'm not where I used to be. Inflation. Before I started writing the book, I didn't care about inflation. When they talk about it in the news, you're like, inflation, what's that? But being able to understand how inflation works and how inflation impacts your ability to have more money at the end of the month, or not have a lot of money at the end of the month, is so important. And as well, this is the key factor you should consider when you're thinking about staying in employment that's paying you the same wage year after year after year, or paying you the same salary year after year after year. There needs to be some increase, because of inflation, your expenses are naturally going to be going up. So you want to be in a place where your income is also going up. I go on to write about change. So I've got to a place where, yes, I'm going to make a change, but change, depending on what it is you're changing, sometimes can take a very long time. And it's in this time that a lot of people would lose courage and lose the motivation to stick with it. And sometimes when you're doing something, it's like they say, a lot of people will start going to the gym because they don't see any change within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. They stop going. But sometimes change can take so much longer than we can even imagine. But if you've got a goal, if you've got an endpoint, the best that you can do is just keep going along that track, as long as you know it's the right track that you're going on. So in the section of the book, I was just writing about that. I'm so glad that I know it's not too late for me to change. I was much younger then than I am now. But I had that mindset that says it's never too late to change. So if I start working on it now, eventually I will get to a place where I understand it better and I manage it better. I also write about short-term loss, long-term gain, which is something I talk about a lot. And I also encourage people to understand the benefit of short-term loss, long-term gain. So I was talking about when I was doing my master's, I had to cut down my working hours. What that meant is my income was reduced. But I understood that this is something that I was doing to add value to myself. Short term, I'm going to make slightly less money. But in the long term, it will allow me to earn a lot more money than I was earning then. So at the time, it created more struggle, because if you already don't have enough money to work with, how are you going to reduce that money just to gain the skills? And I'm so grateful that that worked out as a tactic to be able to get to a place where I'm earning more money. And in this chapter, I write about my upbringing, my life, how it began. I was born in Kenya, and the whole transition to come to the UK. I write about that in this chapter. And when I look back at the whole journey, it's like, I know within myself that I'm destined for greatness, because I feel like I've come too far to just live a mediocre life or just reach for small goals. So I think that's one of the things that keeps me motivated and keeps me driven to say, you've come way too far to just be broke. And in the reflection of letting go of the old ways is also just celebrating the fact that writing the book was going to be something that will help me help somebody else, even if it's just one person, two people. But at the moment, I think there's like 16 reviews on Amazon, which indicate that it's helped people along their journey. And talking about the journey, it's where the fun is. This is part of the journey. This is part of the process. This is where all the excitement is, because once you get to the top of the mountain, you get to see the view, but the journey ends. So just being in the place of learning, celebrating, and not forgetting that the journey is the most important part. So this whole learning process, every single day, trying to find ways or learning new ways to be better financially. So learning to celebrate that journey to success, whatever the definition of success is for you. To conclude this chapter, I wrote about the fear of success. And believe me, it's actually a real thing. And what this is basically, you may know that you need to change something or improve something, but the thought of you achieving that makes you scared, because you think, oh my gosh, all of a sudden my life will be different. Things won't be the same way I know them to be. Am I going to be able to adapt into the new life? And that whole thought process then brings you back to your reality and keeps you in your comfort zone. When I was doing the research for the book and I found out that it's actually a real thing, fear of success, that confirmation hit. That's some of the reasons that keeps us in the same place, because you don't want to lose that comfort. And for me, this subconscious fear kept me in the same position for a long time, because I was questioning myself. Why can I not make the changes that I need to make? Why do I find it so challenging to just be able to do some things that some people might see as normal? And it's literally that element of fear of success. I write about what helped me to get through the process of even just writing a book. And that was attaching a strong why to the reasons why I'm doing these things. There's a quote that I developed during the stage, and it basically says, overthinking leaves us confused. Action lets us know where we stand. And that's basically saying constantly just thinking and overthinking about the moves you want to make or the goals you want to set or the life you want to live is just going to leave you confused. As soon as you start taking action towards whatever it is you want to do, you start to see clearly which direction you should go in. That was a review of chapter 4. Hope you enjoyed it. As always, do drop any comments if you have any, and I will see you in my next video, which will be chapter 5.